Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I know we were just coming off of a stream I just did on the oral arguments on the appeals for Adam Fox and Barry Croft. These are the men who were framed as the ringleaders in the FBI's Governor Whitmer kidnap plot. I have some breaking news. Now, this came out yesterday. I'm hearing about it for the first time just earlier today, actually just after getting off of the stream that we did, and after I did my interview. So let me bring this up for you guys. This was sent to me by Paul's dad. This is just came out yesterday. Think about the timing of this for them to make this decision on the eve of oral arguments at the Sixth Circuit in the federal case that is connected to the state case. I find this to be very concerning. So let's go ahead and go through it. This is coming from MLive. I will include the link in the video description. High Court rejects appeal of Wolverine Watchman convicted in Whitmer plot. Now, it should be stated that Paul left the Wolverine Watchman and created his own group, so I don't know why they continue to refer to him as a Watchman. Technically, he wasn't at that, so it just is bizarre. But anyways, a man convicted in the FBI's plot to K&K, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, is seeking release while he continues an appeal, but he will remain in federal prison. The Michigan Supreme Court issued an order Monday, April 29, declining to hear Paul Bellar's case, previously rejected by the Michigan Court of Appeals. The court said it was not persuaded Bellar presented any questions it should review. This is so ridiculous. If you guys know the story, you know why this is ludicrous. Bellar wanted to be released on bond while the appeal continued and to be transferred from the federal prison system to the MDOC. He should not even be in federal prison, that should be noted. Jackson County Circuit Judge Thomas Wilson earlier denied both requests. Well, he's appealing Judge Wilson's case. I don't understand why Judge Wilson, who was the judge in Paul's case, is here denying these requests. Why are these requests even being made to him if we're appealing his rulings? It makes no sense to me. And yet this is what goes on apparently in Michigan. Co-defendant Joseph Morrison has a pending appeal, but no order has been released. Bellar, 25, he's literally just 25, of Milford, and Morrison, 29, of Munith, were each sentenced for their parts, which was not their parts, in the FBI's plot as members of the Wolverine Watchmen, a Michigan group that they claim met and hosted trainings at Morrison's Munith property. Now, the FBI did that. The FBI was leading those trainings. I love how they leave that out and they don't mention that, like, Dan Chappell, their informant, became the XO of the Watchmen. They don't mention that Paul left the group. This is just absurd. A jury convicted them in less than 4 hours without even looking at the evidence, by the way, in October 2022 of, quote, providing material support for the FBI's plan. Prosecutors argued the men provided support in the form of training sessions, again put on and paid for by the FBI, and other logistical aid. Again, nobody believes this was orchestrated by Adam Fox. Nobody believes Adam Fox was in charge of or organizing anything. Adam was told he was head of a Michigan chapter of a fake group that was created literally by the feds. So, when you use a network of 12 informants and 3 undercovers, and you've got a bunch of undercovers operating false personas online, it's not difficult to manufacture these types of things and manufacture the situations to get you the ability to manufacture them, i.e., putting on FTXs, inviting 40 people, making it a family-friendly event with a little girl's barbecue and birthday party and kids in a swimming pool. You know, putting it out on private property, setting up, you know, how the FBI set up obstacle courses for the guys to run through. They made it really enticing and really fun for a bunch of people who were sitting around, you know, not able to work at that point. Because again, this was during the pandemic, so people need to understand how they manufactured this, the appearance of this, and how they did it is very frightening. Wilson found Bellar and Morrison had not met the high burden required of a prisoner seeking bond pending appeal. Wow. Again, why is he making that decision if they're literally appealing his rulings? It just is bizarre to me. Representatives with the Michigan DOC, the MDOC, Michigan Department of Corrections, declined to comment on why the men are serving time in federal prison instead of a state prison. Yeah, isn't that interesting? They were not convicted federally or even charged federally, and yet on the eve of their appeals, they were transferred, all three of them, to different federal facilities across the country. Morrison was sentenced to 10 to 40 years and is incarcerated at FCI Pekin. Bellar is serving 5 to 20. No, he could be in there till 2063 at FCI Schuylkill. I don't understand why they don't mention Pete here, like, at all. But this is a very liberal publication, which has left out all mention of the FBI's entrapment in this case, which I find not at all surprising. Okay, moving on. I want to show you who Paul really is, because I feel like it's important. Every time we see these guys in the news, they're bringing up their mugshots. They're not showing you who these guys are. This is Paul. This is who he really is. He's a 25-year-old young man who served our country, who, as a teenager, volunteered at the Milford Fire Department and was going on first responding calls while he was in high school. This is somebody who is like a very good, he's a good person. He was just a good person that wanted to help people, and for that he was targeted. This is, you know, this is Paul as a kid. You can see the kind of kid he is. He's, the Skittles was his, one of his favorite snacks. By the way, the Skittles thing, if you guys recall from his trial, made an appearance because he shook his arm with excitement at a bag of Skittles, and they said that that was somehow an issue. They removed a female juror because they said she smiled at Paul or something of this nature, when and in reality what it really was is that she was shaking her head at the FBI's lies and the disgusting and arrogant behavior of Dadamani and the prosecution there. This is Paul as a kid when he had just joined the Milford Fire Department. He's probably like 14 there. This is him after he joined the army. You can see him with his siblings and his dad. For people's privacy, right? I've used emojis to cover their faces just out of respect for the family there, but I wanted you guys to see who Paul really is. This is a 25-year-old young man who the high court has just denied his request to be released pending appeal, which he absolutely should be. And I think there's been a lot of evidence that has come forward. I mean, I don't understand why even these filings don't reflect the new information that has come to light. For example, about the one of the main informants, Steve Robeson, and the FBI's 3-hour long so-called interrogation of him. None of that has been mentioned at all in the things that they said in there, where the FBI talked about how, gee, this sounds an awful lot like entrapment, and they told their informant that he had these 5 different pressure points and all this other stuff that they do. Really, it's just disgusting. And so I find the timing of this suspicious and concerning. And now, where does this leave us as far as where Paul stands? I don't want to hear any nonsense. I have concerns about these court appointed lawyers and whether or not they're actually doing their job and doing everything that they can do. I don't think that they are fighting as zealously as they would be for somebody who was actually able to pay them, right? These are court appointed people who are also, they have a big caseload. And so it's not like they have the ability to dedicate tons of time to a client. Um, no, that's not how it works at all. And in many cases, I am more informed about the case than some of these lawyers. And that is also incredibly concerning to me. Like earlier today, we were listening into the oral arguments, and Judge Riedler, who was one of the three judges on the three-judge panel at the Sixth Circuit, asked a question about, hey, who said this and who mentioned something about Whitmer joining Biden's cabinet and then getting a special Secret Service protection. Like, who was the first person that proffered this, right, or mentioned it? Well, it wasn't Adam Fox, who they called the ringleader. No, it was actually Dan Chappell, the FBI's informant, who was the executive officer and leader of the Wolverine Watchmen. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And it took his lawyer had to go back and reference his own filing to refresh his memory about, gee, who was it that said this? It was Dan Chappell. Your girl remembered it before anybody. And so that just goes to show you that in many cases, other individuals are more informed on the case than the actual lawyers who are supposed to be working them. And this is not to disparage any of the attorneys on this case. I'm sure they're doing the best they can to their ability and with what limited resources they have. However, just to be safe, though, I call it like I see it. And if I think that you're not doing your job, I'm going to call you out and tell you that. And so hopefully that motivates you to, do something. And with that being said, that's my update on this. I don't know where this stands. I think that the he still has, as far as I have gathered, he may still have a avenue for appeal. And the last I heard, there was going to be a hearing coming up either later this week or it might be in June. I have to double check. There might be two hearings coming up. But every time there's a hearing, it seems like nothing happens, nothing is determined, and they go, oh, well, that was a good conversation, and here's the next hearing date. And it's like, okay, we've had 3 hearings now about why these men were moved from state prisons to federal prisons. The government has yet to provide an answer. These guys have not been brought back yet. Will they be brought back so they can meet with their lawyers and their families and access a Michigan law library? What is going on here? And for people who maybe they don't know much about this case, or maybe they're wondering, why should I care? Well, you should care about innocent people, because look at the statistics about how many innocent people are wrongly convicted each year. What if this was your brother? How would you feel then? How would you feel if it was your father or your husband? Or even, an uncle, or even a coworker or a friend? How would you feel if something like this happened to them when they were 21 years old, and that as a basically a kid that could destroy their life in this way? You should care, because it can happen to you. It can happen to anybody. If it could happen to Paul, it could happen to you. If it could happen to his family, it absolutely could happen to your family. Guys, this is a family of somebody who's a veteran. These are people, this family has law enforcement and military in their family history going back to, many generations, not just Paul, his dad, his grandfather. This is a good family. And if it could happen to them, a family with a service of history, a history of service to our country, serving our country, but also serving our communities as law enforcement, then yes, this could happen to your family. And I think that is the most terrifying thing about it. That is why you should care. So I ask you guys to pray right now where we stand. We had very good, it seems, good oral arguments today on the appellate brief for Adam and Barry for the federal guys. And now we have this latest information about Paul. I haven't heard anything else about Joe or Pete right now, which is very weird. That just this determination was just made for Paul only. Very strange. All right, that's my update for now. I just ask you guys to keep these men in your prayers and help me share this information. That's one way you can help. Consider writing to these men if you can. I have the um I've got the mailing address on the documentary website. It is knkfilm.com. And so reach out, write a letter, keep it uplifting and positive if you can. I know some of you have already written letters, and I can tell you it is that makes me so happy, and it has made a big difference because we're hearing about it from the guys that they, how exciting it is for them being in that situation and in such a dark place to get a hopeful message from somebody, an encouraging letter, is very meaningful. It lets them know that they're not alone. All right, that's all for now. Have a good day, guys.